All right, welcome everyone to another Willpop Vinyl video. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. First of all, I'm going to be trying to focus more on the camera up here, so it looks like I'm making eye contact. This is not in a great spot for recording content like this. But yeah, I'm not going to be showing a lot of records or anything today. I want to talk a little bit about a project that I've started. As someone who uses Discogs a lot, I've always wanted to find ways to improve my experience using it. And yeah, I think I first tried dabbling this about a year ago, doing what they call vibe coding with primarily ChatGPT, I think it was, and I didn't have that much success. I probably needed to spend more time with it. But yeah, the technology's come a long way in a year. I'm using Claude now. And, you know, your feelings about AI aside, I've got extremely mixed feelings about it. But like many folks, you know, who might work in the corporate world or honestly any kind of industry, I bet we're being encouraged more and more to experiment with these tools and learn about them professionally. And so this seemed like a good reason to re-engage with the technology. I've already talked a little bit about my use with it, trying to research music to look for and places to go in Japan with mixed success there. So this is a foray into vibe coding and experimenting with what's possible using the Discogs API. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but let me just pause to swap windows here. All right, so I'm showing Claude here now, specifically Claude Code. But if you're looking at the top here, it says read 3 files. So I initially started this project in just the normal Claude chat side. I'm not going to click over to that. I don't want to reveal all the various chat history I have with Claude. Not that there's anything weird in it, but I don't want to sidetrack anyone. So yeah, I basically started by asking it, what types of things might I be able to do? And in particular, I want to look at the want list because I feel like the want list feature is especially weak on Discogs. Kind of my original idea, I should say, was to build a website or a platform that would allow people to log in with their Discogs credentials. It would then pull their want list, and then it would compile all the YouTube videos to the albums there and build a playlist. I just thought that would be a interesting workflow for anyone who's like trying to refresh themselves on what they have in their want list and reprioritize. Like there might be things on my want list or yours that are 5+ years old and you haven't listened to in a while, and just being able to discover them through a playlist like feature and then decide, oh, do I actually want to keep this on my want list or not, right? Kind of like a hot or not for your want list, if you think, right? Thumbs up, thumbs down, as a way for us to constantly engage with that and edit it down. Or, you know, mentally prioritize things, be like, oh yeah, that is really good. I want to go get that. So we're not there yet. Everything that I have is just running locally. I haven't actually even asked Claude about the viability of doing that. So anyways, Claude spit out some initial documents, which I then dropped into Claude Code here, and it immediately started building a local server environment for me. You do have to go to Discogs and go into the settings on your account, and you'll find developer settings, and you can fairly easily apply. I don't think it even asked me very much. And then once you are in, you just click a couple things and you can find an API key, which then allows any code that you write, or in this case that the AI writes, to interact with the Discogs database, or at least what they reveal through their API. Some things they don't reveal, I found out. So if we scroll down here, I ask questions about like, can I get all the pricing history and stuff like that? I don't want to bore you by reading through the entire history, but you can kind of see the types of things like, oh, so here it goes. Current listings, individual sellers, price, condition, location are not exposed by the API, and previous sales data is not exposed by the API. I think that's for obvious reasons. They don't want people scraping that data. What is available is the recommended price that Discogs gives you. So if you've ever listed an item on Discogs for sale, you'll know that it recommends a price based on the condition of the record. So that's something. That's not everything, obviously, but that's something. And so I decided, okay, well, we might as well have that in there. And I continued on also asking it to then, here you can see a little mock-up of what it was starting to look like. And here's the sales prices, or the recommended sale prices based on condition for this record that it pulled, a recent one that I added to my want list. From there, I started asking it about are all those YouTube videos that are so conveniently embedded also exposed? And the answer was yes. And so you can see here the embedded player is live, and this screenshot shows that it was able to add that into this like local server experience that I've been building for myself. So scrolling all the way down, blah, 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 blah. And the very last thing I wanted to add, and this is something that I wish they would add to Discogs in general, like more ways to filter this stuff. For me right now, I'm very interested in looking at what's in my want list that is a Japanese pressing. And so I asked Claude to pull and tag with metadata everything on my want list based on the country of origin, so that way it can establish a filter. And I'm going to now flip over to what this looks like, again, running in a local browser in a local server experience. This is not something that anyone can log into at this point. But I just wanted to get this out there, one, to like show a little bit what this stuff is capable of. For context, I started this at 5 p.m. yesterday. It's 9 a.m. July 1st. So this is what it was able to build for me in a quick, 30-ish minutes of prompting and going back and forth. Secondly, I'm curious if anyone else has looked at this stuff and what they've built. And, if you have been looking at what you can do with the API, things that are interesting to you, please drop a comment below. I'd love to open up a conversation. If you look at this and it inspires you, or you've always had ideas of things you want, please also drop like a wish list so I can start querying Claude Code here and see what else we might be able to do. So with that, I'm going to pause again to swap windows, and then we will come back and look at what this experience is so far. Okay, so here's what it looks like. And of course, I've never recorded one of these without having to record something again because OBS is such garbage. Somehow I lost the middle portion of this where I was showing off the previous version of the server. So ignore this recommendations thing because that's a spoiler for what's coming next. But yeah, the original version of this that I was recording before and somehow lost, I don't know where it went, only had this want list here, and it didn't even have it tabbed. So as you can see, I can filter my want list here either by title, artist, genre, or this is what we were just talking about in that video, the ability to filter it by country. I would probably ask it to reorder this menu by popularity of country, like, what I have most of. So that way Japan's, alphabetical is also fine. It's not like there's that many, but anyways, looking at Japan, and now I can see just the Japanese pressings that I'm looking for that are currently on my want list. And just to kind of show you a little bit what this experience is like. So let's pick one here, like that I'm not super familiar with actually, that I know I listened to, but I still don't know a bunch about. So let's check out Summertime by Tsuyoshi Yamamoto Trio. You can see here we get a nice album art, which is really important actually, like, because for me, my memory is very visual. I think because of a lot of the CCGs and TCGs I played growing up, like Magic the Gathering and Pokemon and stuff, my ability to associate images is really good. And so a lot of the time when I'm flipping, I'm going by the cover. And I think in Japan, having good familiarity with what these covers look like, especially since I don't see these albums in the US very frequently or ever, is going to be helpful. So I'm going to be spending a lot of time just browsing this and looking at it and trying to familiarize myself. But anyways, let's see what it shows. So USD, so for whatever reason, it does show the lowest of the 13 for sale, even though it doesn't expose everything that's for sale. I forget, it said somewhere in the text that we didn't go through why. And all this information, typical stuff that's pulled from Discogs, the genre tags, the label, the year. Here is the YouTube, right? So here's the full album, if it's available, and it is. And I don't want to play it, I don't want to get struck. But here I can stream all this stuff from my want list, like right here. And here are the values that Discogs would recommend to you if you were going to list this based on the based on the condition. So Discogs is saying that a VG Plus, which is probably what I would come across, might be about $200 USD. So this gives me an idea of maybe what the equivalent in yen might be like when I'm over there. This track list is kind of redundant, and these notes are pulled also from the Discogs entry. The other thing that it does, which was a feature that Claude came up with, is it generates collector notes. And so by doing a similar process to what I did to get the API key to gain access to the Discogs information, you can go through the Anthropic website and log in and get a API key to allow you to access the LLM directly through the applications you make. And so this, by clicking this, it's actually going to use Claude to generate notes about this record. And I've given it no direction on how to do this. So this is something that we could also like fine tune in the future. How do we want these notes to be presented? How do I want these notes to be presented? So here's what it's come up with without any kind of prompting or direction. The place in the discography, it's mid-run of Yamamoto's Productive Stretch with 3 Blind Mice. It talks further down about the sonic characteristics of the record pressing itself. I've seen in other ones, they'll say things like, this is a mono pressing and it's known for, deep this. And, it can talk about the characteristics of the sound. And it gives some recommendations here for others to look for. So Yamamoto's Misty is already on my want list. And Fumio Itabashi's Waltz for Debbie, I didn't know about that one. So that's one for me to go check out for sure. And it was at this point in the video that got lost where I said, like, this is something else that I want to do with this. I want to build a recommendation engine and see if I can get Claude to also pull in my collection with my want list and build a recommendation engine. And so you can kind of see, spoiler alert, this tab up here, but now I'm going to cut to actually what that vibe coding process looks like for anyone who wants to see that. So yeah, please enjoy that. Here it goes. All right, I made the mistake of updating Claude, and then that kind of broke my ability to record it for whatever reason, but now I had to restart it. We're back. So yeah, where we left off, let's just see, just for example, what it looks like to start asking it to add some of that stuff. So, so let's see, how would we phrase this? Can you make a new tab that functions as a recommendation engine that factors in my current collection and everything on my want list to help me target help me target new music that I might be interested in. And now it's going to think, and let's see what that looks like. We're using the highest available model right now, so it tends to go a little slower. And it's going to think, and then it's probably going to start writing code. There's a way to see what that code looks like in the terminal, I think, or perhaps in over here. Let's see, it's still thinking, so it's taking everything into account right now first. So I'm wondering if it's going to, it'll probably use the Anthropic API as part of this, right? Same way that it uses it to generate the the little blurbs about each record. So I'm wondering if it's getting hung up here based on me asking it to make a new tab, or if it's just like coming up with a whole bunch of stuff. It says almost done thinking. So I'm trying to like fill, we don't want dead air here. Okay. And yeah, it's going to ask me to allow it to do stuff. These are like little safety features. But since I'm not really messing with like credit cards or crypto or anything, I'm not too nervous about letting it have access to this. And this is the first time it's queried my actual collection database. So it's looking at this stuff and it's telling me what it has. Yep. So yeah, just trying to show anyone who's maybe never done any of this stuff. I know this is a little bit dead air, a little boring, but this is what it actually looks like to interact with this. And here, so far it's burning these tokens. I don't actually know how many tokens I get per day because I've never really gone heavy on this. I definitely burned several thousand yesterday and it didn't give me any alerts. I'm paying like the $20 a month subscription for this. So perhaps if I go really hard today, I'll hit a limit. But so far I have not had issue. And then once it finishes, we should be able to refresh. It might show something, a window might pop up and it might show me a preview over here, or we'll just be able to refresh the local server in the browser and see what it looks like. See, in the meantime, if I jump back, so yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's anything worth talking about over here while it's thinking. Again, just trying to fill for time. Letters to the Sun, this was a cool one that Stunty featured recently that has a track by Nicholas Jar on it. That was really good. These are some tapes I'm interested in getting that are like James Ferraro side projects. Always interested in his stuff. And yeah, as you can see, I've found some more Japanese pressings. Like I already have these Harold Budd and Brian Eno pressings, but I'm really interested in getting the Japanese ones. And figured while I'm there, I might look for some Japanese Beatles and Japanese Fleetwood Mac. I actually already have a Rumors that I found at a record show in New Jersey here last year, which was really nice. And, you know, Joe Henderson Elements, I just mentioned that in my New York Vinyl Con video. All right, hold on, let's jump back. Claude's making some progress, so let's flip that back over to Claude and see what it said. So data source is confirmed. Here's the plan. Build a taste profile server side. Top artist, label, styles, genres. Claude generates targeted picks from that profile. Validate each pick against Discogs search so it becomes a real release with cover art. Excludes anything already in my collection or want list. That's good. And now it's actually building. So you can see now the token use is telling me what it's server.js is the code file, the one of the code files, but I think the main one. So it's showing the amount of code it's changed. It's added 160 lines of code here. Preview is not running yet. I can't see. Yeah. In ChatGPT, you could actually see it like changing the code and stuff, and that was kind of fun to watch, though not really useful for me as someone I only have very, very, very basic, coder knowledge. So I'm not interacting with the code at all so far in this project. The only thing I've had to do is log into Discogs and log into my Anthropic account and get the API keys so that it can hook into the backends and do all this stuff. And it looks like it's almost done. It's editing the HTML, which is the front end. Apologies for the dead air, but again, I just thought this would be cool to show anyone who has never seen like what it actually looks like to vibe code. This is, I think I'm doing it. And we'll wrap the video up by just showing what the final product looks like here. And yeah, I again implore anyone, invite anyone to please, if this interests you, drop comments, drop ideas, recommendations if you've played around. Let's allow you to do that. And here you can see the task it's doing. Servers now, servers up. All right. It always does a lot of testing before it will consider the task complete, which is different from what I experienced a year ago trying to use this stuff. This is actually very different. Like if you've never done anything vibe codey, this experience I would say is so much easier, because when I was trying to do it before, I actually had to run everything through like the command line and get like a folder set up and do all this stuff, and it felt a little bit intimidating. Not that it was difficult, it just felt like hard to know if you were doing things right. And I found a lot of the time I would have to ask it to be like, no, like, I don't know what I'm doing. Tell me exactly what to do. And it would say, like, make a file named this, put it in this folder, make another file named this, put it in this folder. And then it would know the folder and it would like start modifying the documents that I put in the folder with code. Whereas here it made all that stuff for me, like, and did all the file architecture and everything. To reprint recommendations with UTF-8. Not quite sure what this means, but I'll allow it. I assume this is like a formatting or a UI thing that it's running up against. And yeah, our token count continues to climb here, 6.5K. Okay. Oh, great. So it caught that it was giving me too many redundant picks. And so therefore returning too few results. Yep, and let's see what it comes back with. And then hopefully we can jump over and actually look at what this updated experience looks like in the browser. And we'll wrap the video here. I was going to do this anyway, so I figured I might as well record it and talk a little bit about this. This is what I was going to spend like at least 30 minutes to an hour doing today, continuing to develop this. And I thought this could be interesting content. I have not seen anyone in the vinyl community talking about this, doing this type of thing. So yeah, I probably expect more, I guess, whether people like it or not. This is just something that really fascinates me right now. And yeah, I think Discogs is such a vital resource to the community that's so underserved by just by, I think, the way it's run. I understand there's tons of legacy issues probably with the code base, and it's really, really hard to update it and make it something like, I don't know, make it something that we would all want it to be. So perhaps the solution is just for everyone to come up with stuff like this. Okay. It's reconfirming. Didn't anticipate having to fill so much dead air with this taking 10 minutes now, but looks like we're finally there. So let's jump back over to the browser. And let me find it. And so this is the old version. So now we refresh and it should, oh, there we go. Recommendations. So based on your records and wants, leaning into experimental, ambient, free jazz, abstract, click any pick for full detail. So it's recommending some more Mal Waldron, Abdullah Ibrahim's, who I collected some of, but this is a later, much later one that I haven't looked at. I was looking at mostly his like 70s stuff. Possible Musics. I actually have this, I think. So that's interesting that it put it up, or I'll double check that. I definitely have Day of Radiance also. So it still gave me some issues. So this is when I've got to give it more feedback on this. Visible Cloaks I've heard of but never checked out. Obviously I've got a bunch of Pharoah Sanders, but this is another later era one I haven't listened to. Arca I know. I haven't collected any Arca. This is a great recommendation considering I don't own any. Let's see what it says if I do more adventurous. Let's see how long this takes. So now it's just going to, again, use the LLM to try to come up with more. And then this time, let's actually click through and see what clicking looks like. So this is similar to kind of what I was trying to do before, but I was like manually typing, like, tell me about Japanese jazz. What should I look at? Like, here's what I like. And now this is a more automated version of that, right? And now perhaps I could even ask it to go a step further. I won't do it now, but I could ask it to go a step further to create a prompting bar in here. So I could be more specific with what I want to say. Only give me, more Three Blind Mice records, or only give me, more records that are ambient. So that's probably a direction that I would go with this. So it gave me Day of Radiance again. Disintegration loops, Moondog. Interesting. So let's click on the Moondog and see what it says here. Oh, and it brings up a very similar looking tab to what we had before. Moondog 2. Now, I actually think I have, or is this a Moondog 2? Is this like a release 2000? Okay, so this is like a compilation or a reissue of the two. So this is something that I would want to tell it, like, don't consider reissues. And this is a CD, it's not a record. So don't give me CDs, I'd have to tell it, and don't give me reissues that are the same that I already have. But this is an interesting start. And here's the track list. Let's see, it didn't pull up any YouTube, but perhaps this one doesn't have it. And then here's the generate notes. But let's see what's one that I know is probably on YouTube. I'm sure this Alice Coltrane is on YouTube. Yep. So this one, it pulled up the listen. So perhaps there was just no listen available, no YouTube recordings up of that Moondog. And yeah, here we go. So, and again, this is recommending me now, not an original pressing, it's recommending me a repress from 2015, which is why these prices are so low. So this is just a first step, right? So there's a lot of refinement I could do here. I think I'll probably ask it to make that a prompting box within the window, so that way I can give it more specific ideas. But you saw what it was like. It went from previously only having this tab with the want list, which was already kind of an interesting start, to now making a whole other module to this. And yeah, that's it. So last call, or thirdly, asking anyone, drop comments. Is this interesting to you? What's this inspire you to want or think about? Have you experimented with Claude Code or ChatGPT or any of the other LLM coding experiences to play with the Discogs API to build your own tools? Please leave it all below. And I really hope some people chime in. I know this is a small channel, but I'm super curious to see what the community thinks about all this. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. I'll probably be back again, perhaps even later this week if I'm feeling super inspired and have a lot of updates. So yeah, see you all soon. Bye.